so tired after 6 years of posting a Fold 7 review and having some people, but why foldables anyway? I'm like, I've had that conversation a billion times. I'm tired of arguing. But once Apple does something, it lends a veneer of respectability to it that will shut up most of those people. And then we can all get on with our lives.
But I believe it was less than 2% of smartphone buyers have ever even touched the foldable.
Yes.
Do you think that legitimizes the segment, or do you think it may prove that there really is just not much interest? Because 2% after, over half a decade, I found pretty surprising.
But I don't think the reason I think more people would buy foldables if Apple sold foldables. This is an Android versus Apple situation. I can't, every conversation I have in public is always like, oh, I love that. Oh, I've seen them. Oh, can I touch it? Yeah, it's the, oh, I can't get rid of my iPhone, but oh, I want one of those. It's an iPhone lock-in thing.
John, I have a question for you. I'm just jumping in.
I may have an answer.
What am I doing? Before we get to the question, we got to get to who's here with us. I apologize.
Oh man, this is the man who I would want to narrate my life. He would be the Morgan Freeman of everything going. Then he woke up that day, unsure what to do.
But John didn't know what was coming next. Go ahead.
Exactly.
I would also like this man to play me in the movie about me.
Oh.
I know that sounds strange, but
you'd have to shave that beautiful head of hair.
I was going to say, man, I'm not sure I could rock this as well as you. Yeah, they do have those caps. I think they're using one of those in Star Trek Strange New Worlds this season, and I want everyone to know I'm seeing right through it. I don't believe it for a second.
You wouldn't know. It's Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile to the uninitiated. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me back. I'm doing very, very well, actually. I am insanely busy, as we all are, every time you ask a guest in this field on a podcast how they're doing. But my busy is good busy. It's a very good time of year professionally for me, so I'm grateful. Also, as you can hear, I'm coming from New York City, and so as you know, you will hear several police fire sirens. And since the cats have been clued in that I'm having a podcast, they're going to knock over like half the furniture in the apartment while we do this. It'll be fun.
Rest in peace to your furniture and whoever was outside there having an issue.
Amen.
So, John, back to the question. Back to the question at hand. You may not have seen this. I put a question on Threads yesterday. Michael saw this, actually. He jumped in. And I just asked, what is the best episode of television? What's the best episode of TV you've ever seen? And I made it a poll, and I put 4 options in there.
Okay.
This is what I put in there. I put The We Are from Severance, which was the season 1 finale. I put The Constant from Lost, almost 20 years ago.
There it was.
And I put, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Ozymandias from Breaking Bad.
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias. Yeah, Ozymandias. Yeah.
And then other, and then leave a comment. So if you don't agree with one of those 3, leave a comment and go to other. I can't answer my own poll on Threads. You can make the poll, but you can't answer the poll.
Good questions.
Where do you land? You don't have to choose one.
I would have said Lost, but now knowing how Lost ended and all the things they just didn't answer, like, yeah, they're polar bears. I got a hard time going back. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it in the past 20 years.
Yes.
I remember watching that Ozymandias episode, though, of Breaking Bad and thinking that was unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. I know there's a recency bias here, too. I thought almost every episode of The Penguin was incredible.
You're
just
right.
Throwing that out there.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
Was unbelievably well done. Probably in a few years, I forget how amazing it was and shouldn't be in that discussion. I just thought that show as a whole was so well done.
I agree with you on that. Just to let you know where the poll stands.
Yeah.
The We Are from Severance, disappointingly, to me, is only at 17%. Now, I wonder if that's because it's an Apple TV Plus show and not many people have TV Plus. So season 2 was the 5th most streamed show in all of streaming. So that means people are watching. The Constant from Lost, 19%.
Disappointing turnout for that.
Yes. 44%, and then other 20%. So people love that Breaking Bad episode. Now, Fisher jumped in, and he said, his comment was this: the very first thing I did was make sure The Constant was on here, life-changing TV.
I did not even see the poll results. I saw the text of your thread, and I was like, if he doesn't have the constant on there, this whole thing could just get fired out of the cannon.
Constant. Yeah. So you watched Lost, right? You said you didn't like the ending, so that means you watched it. So
I loved Lost.
Oh, me too. I mean, my God. That really felt like the beginning of the modern, I don't know if you want to call it golden age, but like where TV got so good, it became, it kind of rivaled movies in a way in the production.
Yes, fully agree. The constant is what got me to watch Lost. My girlfriend was a fan at the time. I was in her apartment walking past the TV doing laundry or something like that. And I kept walking past while they were watching the constant. I was like, I eventually just sat down. I was like, I cannot not watch this. And then by the end of it, I didn't know any of these characters. By the end of it, I was almost crying. I don't think I quite got there, but I could not see. I was just so blurry. It changed, and I immediately went to watch the show, and I became one of the biggest fans of the series.
Interesting. Now, you just going back to what I know about you. I don't know much about your TV preferences, but I saw a lot of people calling out a specific episode of Star Trek Next Generation. I forget the name of it.
The Inner Light.
Okay, now why was that not your comment rather than the constant? Out of curiosity.
Because I feel like when you put a question that broadly to a very broad audience, like I automatically kind of subtract all the genre TV. So it's like, look, I'm the biggest Star Trek fan anybody knows, but I'm not expecting people to have watched an episode of any Star Trek series, despite the fact that Next Gen was so popular. So that's why. But and I was already a fan, so I expected that episode of TNG to affect me the way it did. Lost came out of nowhere and punched me in the heart. And what I will say about the constant, again, then I'll shut up, is that when I had to introduce later people in my life to Lost who hadn't seen it, friends, girlfriends, I showed them that episode first. I'm like, look, I'm going to break the timeline. Yep, you got to watch the constant. And it always worked. 100% take rate after watching the constant. Everyone was like, yep, got to go back.
So it didn't feel like a spoiler to you?
No, not at
all. John, any last words here? I don't think you actually.
Any last? Wow, last
as
words.
As it pertains to this topic.
I mean, I probably would vote for Breaking Bad, but I would othered the finale of The Penguin.
Okay. The Penguin, fantastic show. It kind of took me by surprise too, because I just expected it to be more comic book-ish.
I think that's why it was so good.
Tone.
Expectations were on the floor.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for indulging me in that. Let's move on to the topic at hand. By the way, Michael, that was a very professional product reviewer type of answer, going back to I took away the genre and instead focused on what I thought most people would care about and then answered from there. I just wanted to
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I've been corrupted. I've been polluted by 13 years in this line of work.
So, speaking of which, Samsung just is about to drop their new foldable devices. I think we've all, look at John preparing right there. We've all got these devices in, right? The new
yes.
Fold and Z Flip 7s. Got mine here as well. So they sent us all blue.
Flip. I just have the Folds.
Oh, you got the Fold. Okay, tell them you need the Flip.
Only folding.
Tell them you need the Flip. But let's start with the Fold, because actually, I have last year's right here as well. And it basically kind of looks like they took a rolling pin and just pushed it against it and just flattened it and spread it out a little bit. But that little bit of difference, I feel like, makes such a huge difference in the hand when you're actually using this device, closed or open. One thing I've seen a few people mention who've already used it is that they find themselves using it closed way more than previous models, just because it's so much more usable closed. And I guess my first question to you guys is, do you agree with that? And second of all, if you make the outer display of a foldable so good that you rarely have to unfold it, are you kind of losing the utility of having a foldable?
No, not in the slightest. No. But I want to say that it's not just that there was a dimensional shift, and I'm sorry, I'm being the rude guest who jumps ahead of the co-host.
No, please.
it's not just that minor dimensional shift you're talking about, Andrew, because maybe on the spec sheet it looks that way. But I was setting up at Content Capture at Samsung Unpacked here in Brooklyn, getting ready to film my first shot of this thing. And I wanted to start with the Fold 6, which I had with me. So I reached for the Fold 6, accidentally picked up the Fold 7. And I actually have the reaction on camera of me going like NSFW, like, oh, what the because I thought I picked up like half my Fold 6. Like I thought I picked up a dummy because I didn't understand how thin and light this was going to feel in my hand, despite the fact that I've held every foldable that's ever been made. And I know how thin and light a lot of the Chinese ones can get. This was still mind blowing. So I want to say looking at the specs on the page, looking at a video even doesn't do it justice.
I do agree. John, how you feeling about it?
And listen, this is making me remember why I loved foldables in the first place. I think one was huge, right? It had issues. It was incredible. We had a foldable device. 3 was kind of where we saw the design stay static from 3 to 6. Not huge sea change of differences. This one feels like an all new device. And I think what you said, having a really usable outer display, so you don't have to, that's the dream. You have the outer display where you just want a normal phone, right? That's perfect. I want to reply to a text or browse a website. That's great. But if I want to open it up and have a tablet, I've got that option too. And a package that's the same size as most phones is it's the dream. And the fact that they finally gave it better cameras, aside from the thinness, battery life is better than I expected. Like price, I think you could say price is maybe the reason a lot of people wouldn't be into it. And maybe durability over time. Like, oh, this is what people are thinking of when they think of what a foldable could be. It's not perfect. There's rooms for improvement. You can see where they'll go with the 8 and that kind of thing. But like, damn, I really like it.
Nice. I wonder where do you go? Like when you say you can see where you can go with the 8, like I look at the USB-C port and I wonder, okay, how have we reached how do you get thinner than that unless one half of it is thinner than the other, which would be incredibly odd.
I don't think thinness is the thing here. I think that we didn't really see a change from 3 to 6. I don't imagine we'll see a thinness change from 7 to 10.
No, probably not.
This is
at 10. Maybe at 10.
Yeah. This is as thick as almost every other normal phone. Like, it doesn't feel like a foldable in your pocket. My previous favorite phone was the OnePlus Open that I loved. And looking at this thing, I feel like I'm playing the original Nintendo after checking out the Switch 2. I'm just like, ugh, can't believe I ever, you go back and play GoldenEye and you're like, ugh, can't believe I ever liked that. What's wrong with me? I think that
how dare you? But yeah,
but there are things that could be improved. Well, there's still crease issues on here. I think biometrics could be improved. The ergonomics of where their fingerprint ID is, because the nature of the thinness is problematic. I think there's facial or retinal things that could be improved on. Those big fatty boom batty camera humps there.
I think could
probably be figured out. I mean,
or if you're gonna keep the plinth this big, or if you're gonna keep the module this big, then at least give us a 5x telephoto, for example, right? Like there are little tweaks you could make.
Got that 200 megapixel now, which is substantial,
huge.
A substantial
with bitting and all that kind of stuff. But with if these are the things that we're nitpicking, if these are the issues that we're talking about, we're good. We're good with where Samsung is. I'm curious to see what Honor does. They've got something new popping out. I don't know where foldables go from here.
Well, we add a hinge, right? I mean, they go into the trifold arena. We get into Huawei XT Ultimate. We get into a true tablet in your hand, which was, I don't know if you guys played with that thing, but that was remarkable.
No,
I used yours for a few minutes.
It was.
What's that
Tell us more about it, please.
I did not expect it to offer me much because I was so used to this. 5 years on these large format single hinge foldables. Yeah, sure. Why do I need it to go bigger? And then you unfold the XT Ultimate to it's whatever it is, like a 10-inch diagonal weirdo way landscape. And it has its case that comes in the box with a kickstand. And then you prop it up on your table on a flight when you're watching a TV show and you're like, okay, yes. And now that I understand what this is for, and you're laying in bed in the hotel and you're reading the New York Times and it's literally like a newspaper, and then it folds and you expect it to be big and clunky and it isn't. It's like thinner than the razor is when it's closed, and it's like, okay, yep,
Wait,
there's
what?
something here. Yeah, the XT Ultimate is really thin when it's closed, despite being a 3-panel foldable. It's nuts.
What do they do with the, like, does the USB-C port kind of like?
No, I think it's just as wide as it needs to be for that. So it's like it is like 3 of these, but 3 of these is still. Do I have a naked razor? No, I got a razor
crazy.
and clicks, but like, yeah, you get the point. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. I've been hearing from Miriam, our friend Miriam, who, I mean, Miriam uses like pretty much every phone ever invented, no matter what corner of Earth, India, like, right? She knows them all.
And she's Captain 10 phones.
Absolutely. Admiral 10 phones.
She is saying like Samsung is still, even with this device, playing catch up to the Chinese foldables. And I was curious, Michael, because I don't really use many of those. I think I deal mostly with the United States manufacturers for the most part. What would you say is missing here that Samsung is still not hitting as it pertains to foldables, book style like this?
You know what's crazy is there's very little, and what it comes down to is what Samsung has traditionally lagged behind in. The battery capacity, because they're not going for that silicon carbon opportunity that I think, if memory serves, the Oppo has. Certainly OnePlus does. And then the charging speeds as well. So you have a lower capacity battery because it's lithium ion, which I believe our friend David Amell shed some light on that recently. He shared a conversation he was having with the manufacturer who said, yeah, silicon carbon batteries tend to expand over time at a greater rate, and you don't want that with your tolerances and something this thin. So understandable. But then the charging speed thing too. It's like, I plug this in and I don't know, an hour later, I'm still waiting for it to chug up to 100%. And then meanwhile, the OnePlus Open would have been done in 48 minutes or something. So you have those shortcomings, and you still have, as we said, the camera, I'm still mid-review on this. I'm very satisfied with the camera on the whole. But if you're going to have a plinth this big that gives you so much of a wobble on a tabletop, if you're carrying it naked, then I would have appreciated that 5X. I live in New York City. There is not a day that goes by that I don't want as much magnification as possible to take a cool shot of something far away. And having to settle for 3X on a $2,000 phone, kind of a bummer. But those are not giant. John, to your point, those are like, if this is what we're Qi 2. Do I want that on this? Yeah, I want magnetic Qi 2 on every Android phone. None of them have it. So, okay, well, maybe next year again. This is what we're talking about. Like, these are the complaints. If this is what we're dwelling on in terms of negatives, they had a great year. And I wouldn't carry one of those. Yeah. I wouldn't carry like the Oppo Find N5. I know a lot of people are in love with it. I loved it too. But the software sacrifices you make, I'm not the biggest fan of Samsung's One UI, but it is a software load designed for this market. Everything works. You're not doing weird hacks to get things to work because it wasn't designed to work here. Like, just that makes this the best foldable you can get in a large format.
Maybe a spoiler, but post your review, are you going to keep the eSIM in it?
So it's tricky because right after this, we are all expecting Pixel 10 Pro Fold. I tend to prefer the Pixel software load, and I tend to prefer the Pixel's camera. So it's going to be tough for me. I think it's a strong likelihood is that I'll go back to the Pixel.
This is good because it's always, for me, and we'll talk more about this later on too, hardware versus software. For me, I always go with what's the software that I like more, even if it means I don't like the hardware as much. And that's the decision you're going to have to make.
What about only one layout? I love that Samsung lets you customize the outer screen and the inner screen separately.
Yes.
That to me is huge. Huge. You don't have any issue with that with Pixel? On the Pixel side?
No, because I think you and I are opposite in that regard. I was just checking in with myself to see. But yes, indeed, on my cover screen, I've got left panel. I swipe over, I've got right. On the inside, it is the same exact configuration. I can just see them both at the same time.
So you keep it like that.
So I've kind of gotten used to it, I think. But you're absolutely right. It's not a place I've explored much because you can, if you want to, do a totally different cover screen than your inner screen, right?
Yep. That's how I live with foldables. I like when I open it up, I want things larger. I like to see a calendar in a different view than I see it on my outer screen. I like more widgets and more information at a glance because I have that real estate that I don't want to take up the precious space on the folded outer screen. So I've shied away from the Pixel because that, despite loving the software aside from that and loving now the modern hardware that they've done, and the aspect ratio on the Pixel is perfect.
Yeah, I think.
Well, John, let me ask you.
Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Okay.
All right, well, John, let me ask you. If the Pixel allowed you to do that same thing, what would you go with as far as the hardware?
I'm gonna be honest. Post my review of the Pixel foldables, I've stopped using them.
Really?
Because of that issue. So I don't have long-term experience with it. I don't know what they're gonna do for this next gen, but the way that the Fold feels in my hand is really good.
It's really
and with
nice.
the power of launchers and things I can customize for experiences, it's going to be really hard for me to take the Fold 7 out of my pocket. Like really, really hard. But the first step towards that would definitely be being able to customize both. At least give me the option to customize. But that's the Android way, right? You want to do it, you have the choice. You don't, great. Pick the use case that works best for you. I also think that Samsung's integration of AI, primarily with Google services, is probably the best implementation of AI going, despite them using mostly Google stuff of almost any device, and I'm including the Pixel on that. You can make an argument, but I think what Samsung's done on top of what Google offers is really, really good. I do think One UI is bloated, and there's a lot of areas that I would change.
I mean, it's good.
Tough to take out of my pocket.
Can I ask, do you use any of it? Because, when I try to force myself to use any of the Galaxy AI suite, I'm like, yeah, this worked. I saw the demos. Yes, it works as advertised, but I don't have any opportunity in my life to practically apply any of the Galaxy AI offerings. I chat to Gemini. That's the most AI I use in my everyday life. What do you use in the Galaxy AI suite?
I mean, so I do, in all fairness, do a lot of chatting with Gemini.
Yeah.
A lot of chatting with Claude or GPT as well. But Gemini's integration is really tight. A lot of times for photos with kids moving, and I'm trying to get the best shot going.
Yep.
I'll use that relatively often. Pull something out of a background. And again, these are all things that Google offers. But it's nice to have that there when I like knowing that it's there more than I actually use it. That's probably the honest answer.
No, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm looking at, every time I have to remind myself, I go to the Galaxy AI menu item in the settings, and I just kind of look at all of them. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Audio eraser, as is typical of Samsung. They give you as many tools as they can practically fit in when they're not taking some away.
You mentioned charging. I plugged mine in since we started this conversation. I plugged it in. We've been going now for probably 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes.
I had 73% when we plugged it in. I am at 78%. And I'm sitting here again staring at the OnePlus Open, like you said, and I'd probably have picked up 30-40% in that time frame with this chunky boy.
Yeah. And it's a bummer because with the foldable, for me, it is my travel device. I use it every day, but it finds its greatest expression when I'm in a plane and in a hotel room. And when you're using it on a flight to go transcon, that's 5 hours of usage. You get to the hotel, you're at 30% or whatever it is. You need to be able to juice up, change, take a shower, go to the first meeting of the night. And you want that OnePlus quick top up. You want to just be able to go. And it doesn't have that. It's a bummer.
One other thing it doesn't have, I'm curious if you guys are more of the pro foldable users, I would say, as opposed to me.
Well, thank you very much.
When they mentioned this, I was like, I don't care. That doesn't affect my my like or dislike of this phone at all. I'm curious what you guys think when they said no more S Pen support. Did it bother you at all?
John?
I am not an S Pen guy. I'm just throwing that out there. I've never been an S Pen guy, even on the Note line. On the Galaxy line, I'm not a huge S Pen user. I find taking away features to be off-putting, right? They took away the Bluetooth functionality on the S Pen with the S25s. I found that especially for the price they're charging, to be a bit disheartening. And I can understand why people would be upset. Having said that, evidently styluses do work on the inner screen. like normal, you get this from the dry cleaner, you get the little squishy tip, and you can kind of use it.
Like a capacitive stylus, yeah. Like a
Yeah.
frozen sausage would work on the inner screen, yeah.
Will work. Doesn't impact me, but I could see why it would impact a lot of people.
Same here, but this is I'm going to get I'm afraid to talk about this when I post my review video because I am in the same boat as you, John. I did not even notice or ask when I was covering this device whether the S Pen function, and the reason for that is because Samsung, I think I kind of made my peace with it already. I'm like, you guys are never going to put the pen in the casing. And so what you're doing with the Fold is making people put a relatively svelte at the time foldable into a big chunky case with a silo for a pen. And that sucks. Like it's a good solution. I get why you do it, but it's not the way I want to carry it. It's not the way I advocate most people carry it. So, And so when they eliminated it, I can see the objection from people who'd be like, why are you removing the option for me to buy my own and do it the way I want to do? I agree. It's kind of like the button S Pen Bluetooth thing all over again. For me personally, I used to love a pen when we needed pens to differentiate featureless slab from featureless slab. Now that we're in the foldable era where we're getting a lot more utility out of this thing, I don't care about pens really anymore personally. So it didn't ruin my day, but I know I'm going to hear from people who are just like, you're just saying what Samsung wants to hear.
It's still clamoring for IR blasters to come back.
Every time. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. And then, if you've even breathed a word about that Titan 2, the Unihertz thing, like every other question is like,
oh my God, don't say it.
Headphone jack, micro SD card slot. It's like, yeah.
Replaceable battery.
Right. Yeah. Replaceable battery.
Let's go back to those to the Z Flip 7. The Z Flip 7 also got at least in my mind, a substantial upgrade with the outer covered display taking up the full footprint now, which I think looking at other devices like the Razors and everything, it was time for Samsung to do that too. They did it. I don't know about the Exynos chip, but aside from that, it feels just in use.
Yeah.
If you just hand it to someone and use it, it feels more of a flagship device, not just because it's folding, but actual using the device than previous flips did, in my opinion. And also, it really does, when you look at it, just feel like this is a mass appeal type of device. If I guess one way to put this, if teenagers saw this device and it ran iOS, they would be all over this.
Yes.
They'll be all over this.
Agreed. And there's an opportunity for Samsung to come in and take some of that market now, because it doesn't matter that the Razr outshines this in most respects. Samsung is what people equate with Android, and Samsung has the global market share, even though Motorola outsells them in North America with regard to the flip phones.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I did not realize.
Yeah, they have for, I think, at least 2 generations. The Razrs outsold the flip in the United States. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen anyone who's not an acquaintance of mine in the tech space using a Motorola smartphone. Like I'm always just looking if I'm on the train or the airplane. What phones are people using?
I see a lot of flips around. Like I see a lot of Z Flips around in New York. I see a lot of Pixels. I've never seen a Razr in the wild, I don't think. And yet, if you believe the numbers,
that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
I've heard that from multiple sources too.
Okay. Well, how you been liking it?
Me? The Flip?
Have you been using it? Yes, the Flip. Have you been using it much?
So I just wrapped up my review of it. I spent 8 or 9 days with it. I took it to a strange regional pickle festival in Pittsburgh, which was a lot of fun, called Picklesburg.
Thank God.
And it was perfect for that because, it's one of these things where it's summer, right? We're out there having our weird little excursions with family or solo or going on cruises, going whatever. And being able to use this in full on like influencer mode with the camera viewfinder doing its thing. And you have the full extent of the screen now, and it's thinner and lighter and more pretty because they gave it some color. Like it's wonderful. I think they've done such a nice job of bringing this up to date with the competition. Again, the Razr beats it on several metrics, but I think they're also charging $200 less for this than the Razr Ultra. So I think this is a good package. Oh yeah. I had to keep reminding myself it happened. I never noticed it. Not a single time.
Right.
I expected it to go thermally crazy. Yeah, right. Well, I'm out there in Pittsburgh. It's a 95-degree thing, direct sun. I'm eating pickle hot dogs, and the phone is just getting roasted by the sun. And I know it can overheat because I overheated it with DeX in wireless mode. But it didn't. It didn't care. It didn't stutter. It didn't do anything. It just did its job. Maybe the battery died faster than it otherwise would have. But that's one thing I was looking forward for when I knew about the Exynos swap. But frankly, I had just as hot a time in Paris with the Motorola Razr base model, and that's powered by a MediaTek something or other. And that thing was screwing up. So, you know.
I'm sorry. Can we go back one moment? Pickle hot dog, is that a hot dog with a pickle in it, or is that instead of a hot dog, you put a pickle in the bun?
That would be no. The first thing you have the hot dog.
I wouldn't put it past you.
The hot dog is embedded within a large pickle, and it is covered in the grossest looking cheese you've ever seen. And then I've doused it with mustard. There's like a minute long reel of me eating one of these on my Instagram. So
I'm going to need to go find that.
Go. And it's shot on the Z Flip 7, so you can see what it looks like in the middle of the night.
So, Michael, you mentioned Razr Ultra, $200 more, right? But there's also the FE model that Samsung released, which is more than the Razr, what are we calling it? Razr
base,
entry level,
base
right?
Model, yeah.
Razr base, there you go. So each one of them kind of has their advantage in price. And I would assume, I could be assuming incorrectly here, but I would assume similar to the slab smartphones, it's the more inexpensive ones that will likely sell better than the more expensive version. So it seems that Razr still has the edge. Oh, I didn't need to have a pun there. Razr still has the edge as it pertains to pricing, at least at the bottom line.
I think that's exactly right. And I that FE doesn't make any sense to me at the price they put it at. What is it, $899? And it's essentially a repowered version of the Flip 6, which it only comes in white and black, and they took off the accents on the camera lenses, I think, so it looks just duller.
On purpose.
Yeah, that feels like a product that it was designed to get rid of excess components. But if that's the case, I don't know why they didn't price it closer to the Razr base, because the Razr base is like $699 or $599 if you can get it from a carrier, and a lot of carriers give it away for free. And up against that, you're like, no, if you're gonna just buy the Flip 7. It's not that much of a price difference, and if you're getting it from a carrier, you're going to get discounts on it anyway. Yeah, I don't know why the FE is there.
Going to the next topic. We're still staying in the foldable arena right now, but a lot of rumor and reporting, especially yesterday from Mark Gurman, saying next year, 13 months from now, will be Apple making its jump into the foldable arena. And it's interesting because, at least looking at Gurman's reporting, typically the whole argument about Apple coming into an industry or a segment later is that they kind of sit back, observe what's been happening, and say, oh, okay, we can see the holes here, and we can try to plug those holes and put something out that is at least one or two leaps better than what's out there already. Sounds like that might not be happening.
Yeah, just like they did with AI.
Well, I mean,
sick burn.
what it seems like the fold, whatever you're going to call it, Apple's Foldable will not be as thin as the current, the phone we were just talking about, the Fold 7. It'll be almost as thin, but not exactly. And it sounds also like their main differentiator is going to be, we have a creaseless foldable, but I wouldn't say that this foldable here that we have in our hands has, I mean, there is a crease, but it is way, as soon as you turn the display on, it almost disappears, right? If the display is off, you can see it. You turn it on, it's almost gone. The Oppo Find N, what was it, last year, the 5, I think it was 5 and 5. There's virtually no crease there at all. So it's hard to even say that Apple is kind of leading the way there. Maybe they will be. Maybe it'll truly be just no crease exists at all. But aside from that, for a question from Michael in particular,
it's supposed to be different.
Well, it was supposed to be different, and now the report is that they're going to go from their own so what Apple would typically do with displays is they will design the display, but someone else will make the display. And so they've been doing that for this, but now it sounds like they're going to take the displays that Samsung has for this current device, for the Fold 7 and integrate that. That was the rumor, at least from Gurman.
Gurman had some report that there was going to be almost like sliding metal part of it that was going to accommodate that
the hinge.
tightness.
Yes, the different. That's going to so the hinge is going to have some sort of Yes,
that's going to give like the
thing
display
like
to be
where
tighter.
it comes in, it like pushes up the thing. Like when it's deployed.
He said it's going to be like moving plates of titanium inside the hinge that kind of support the display. He didn't actually exactly say what you said, but that's what it leads me to believe.
For those that are watching this on video, I'm going to illustrate what that's going to look like. It's going to be this to this. It's going to pull the display so taut. It's going to get like a facelift. I just pulled my face back. It's going to get a facelift every time. Those plates of titanium are going to be hooked onto the display itself, and when the hinge opens, it's going to pull it so tight as if to eliminate the crease.
I feel like Motorola did something similar with some of the early generations of Razr, and then they changed their design. And yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see if that's possible without compromising waterproofing and maybe even introducing dustproofing. I mean, that's the one thing that we have yet to see on a widespread product is IP5 whatever dust resistance. Motorola did it a couple times, but nobody paid attention. That we've had this conversation once a year, every year for the past 5 years. I will believe it when I see it, and that is that. No, I'm excited for the industry. All right, would I use it as an Apple, user? Like, yeah, probably, but I'm more of an Android guy, as everybody knows. So, I would be excited to see it happen, so that finally we can stop these incessant questions about whether the category deserves to exist. I'm so tired after 6 years of posting a Fold 7 review and having some people, but why foldables anyway? I'm like, I've had that conversation a billion times. I'm tired of arguing. But once Apple does something, it lends a veneer of respectability to it that will shut up most of those people. And then we can all get on with our lives. That's
interesting. Like, Samsung didn't give us a stat this year, but last year, I'm going off memory here, but I believe it was less than 2% of smartphone buyers have ever even touched the foldable.
Yes.
When they launched the Fold 6. When Apple launches a year from now, and you may be biased with this question, and John, I'm curious from you as well. Do you think that legitimizes the segment, or do you think it may prove that there really is just not much interest? And maybe it's price. Maybe it's price that could be the reason. Because 2% after, over half a decade, I found pretty surprising.
I think that is a function of the iOS versus Android conversation. I think, I've had this debate a few times, and people may argue, maybe rightly, that I'm conflating two different things, but I don't think the reason I think more people would buy foldables if Apple sold foldables. This is an Android versus Apple situation. I can't, every conversation I have in public is always like, oh, I love that. Oh, I've seen them. Oh, can I touch it? Yeah, it's the, I can't get rid of my iPhone, but I want one of those. It's an iPhone lock-in thing. So if Apple makes one, yes, foldables will take off. I'm frustrated that is the situation, but I believe that to be the case, John.
You don't think it's price? You don't think price is what's holding back foldables? As it's more about
not with the carrier deals, the way
iOS.
Yeah,
I see. Fair enough.
I think whenever Apple does enter this fray, Samsung's going to sell more foldables. Like, I think Apple entering this for such a small market is probably one of the best things that could happen to Samsung. Personally,
that's an interesting take too.
It is.
Regarding the rumor of size, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this too. It kind of dampened my excitement a little bit because they're talking about potentially, again, it's all rumor, 5.5-inch external display.
Yeah.
That's a lot small. That's almost like the original Google Pixel, the first one, that little passport.
Yeah.
And then on the inside, a 7-point-inch inner screen, which is again similar to that passport original Pixel. And then a 2-camera system on the back, which would be, that's a non-pro iPhone camera. That's a main camera and likely an ultra wide, no telephoto. It almost sounds like Apple is leaving room for a pro foldable in the future, and they're starting with like a mid-range foldable in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense if they're dipping a toe in the water, if they're being cautious about it. And I could see an Apple fresh off the Vision Pro launch being maybe a little more tentative with the new form factor. Like, let's test the market let's be smart about this instead of just brazenly blasting forward with this thing that's going to blow your face off. Like, let's see.
What would you want to see? What would you guys want to see in this? What would you guys, as foldable aficionados and people who, I mean, John, I know you use an iPhone probably more than Michael does, but because again, like I said, for me, I'm more of a software guy than a hardware guy. Like, it's the software features that draw me. What would you guys want to see Apple do to make a foldable aside from just here's a screen that folds in half?
Honestly, probably the opposite of what you just described, Andrew. Like this, I agree that it's probably a good idea if they're testing the market with something mid-range or whatever. But I think with the iPhone 16e, we saw Apple make a lot of compromises that I don't know about you guys. I was surprised to see. And then with the Air, we're hearing of similar, like there will be fewer cameras and all this. I'm kind of tired of seeing that. I don't like this new Apple that drops features. And MagSafe. If MagSafe isn't on it, that'll be a real shame, honestly.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah. That would be me. If I can answer your question with a negative, like, here's what I hope they don't do. I hope they don't compromise too much. That's what I would say.
Okay. So hardware. So you're back to the hardware, though.
Always.
It's about the foldable hardware.
Always.
Okay.
I think they have to solve.
John, what do you think?
They have to solve some sort of problem. Like, so what am I getting from a foldable aside from a larger screen? Is it like the Z Fold, where I can get the best of both worlds? They're solving the problem of me having to carry two devices, right? Apple's not afraid to cannibalize their own sales. Or am I compromising on an outer display to have the option of a larger display inside? I'm not interested in that. The iPhone is a perfect form factor. They're selling 1 million of them for a reason. There has to propose a solution to a problem. And I'm not sure what that problem is yet. Maybe Apple's marketing team is still coming up with it. But there's got to be something that it has to solve. And I do think that was a big issue with the Vision Pro, was that it was incredible, but it didn't solve anything. There wasn't a killer use factor. There wasn't a main selling app that made people think, I have to have this. This is going to improve my life. I think for the price Apple's going to charge, a neuter device with 2 cameras or no MagSafe, the tolerance for those compromises, I think, will be razor thin, so to speak. I think they have to come out of the gate swinging with the device that's comparable to something that's been in the market for 7 years.
I think all Apple needs to do is repackage Samsung's approach, like with a totally different thing to marketing. Like if they do a large format book style foldable like this, this has so much added utility simply because it's giving you a bigger screen, and we could talk about that for frickin' ever. However, when it becomes an Apple product, which is an iPhone, well then it's an iPad mini in your pocket, and then you can do Sidecar, and then it can be your continuity camera, and it can be all of this stuff that plays with your MacBook in a way that none of these can do because they run Android. I really think it's as simple as that. You put iOS on a Fold 7, money to just start the money printing machine.
The one piece of the report that excited me most was iOS 27, which is next year's release. They've kicked off development, and the priority is features for this foldable device, which again, to me as a software guy, it kind of hints to me that this isn't just going to be iPhone when closed, iPad when open, because they already have those things. They already have iPad OS. They have iOS for iPhone. If so much work is going to go into the features for what a foldable can do, it almost makes me wonder, and I lean towards no, but it makes me wonder, will this thing even be called an iPhone, or is it something different? Is there an iPad, an iPhone, and this other thing that we've made this custom software experience for?
Go buy that old trademark from Asus and call it the iPad phone.
Asus has
they had a pad phone. Yeah.
This is
incredible. There you go.
Yeah. This is the iPhone 20. Like this is the anniversary Ultra. This is that one.
No, that's the non-folding all glass one.
I will believe that
going to be the 20.
That's the non-folding all glass. Well, not all glass like 360, but all glass front that waterfalls on all 4 corners into the bottom half of the, at least according to Gurman, which sounds interesting and almost impossible and also very fragile.
Does, but I'd love to see it. because, I'm a hardware guy. So yeah, sign me up.
Speaking of hardware, let's move on. Clicks keyboards. These things,
Yes.
you might not have heard of these, Michael. These things were originally released for the iPhone.
Yes.
Then recently we've seen them come out for Android.
Yes, we have.
And I want to know how this rollout is going on the Android side. I've been very curious. I mean, I think starting with iPhone was incredibly smart, especially here in the US. How's it going on the Android side of things, especially the Razr version, which I think is super cool?
Thank you. I'm so busy right now that I have not unboxed it, but the one, when you launch a new product and you're a co-founder of the company, it's customary to order your own product. So I did, and mine finally came in. So I got the blue one. I've had the Onyx one for a long time, but I haven't even unboxed this yet. It is wonderful to be on Android because, guys, one of my favorite things to do in this world of clicks as a nerd, and I know that you will appreciate this, is find out what tools the platforms have given you that are underutilized. We did it for the iPhone, which is like, oh my God, look at all these shortcuts. And then our community was like, you can do these chain things. Oh my God, look. And Android has so much buried stuff, and it's getting reanimated because presumably of the combination of Chrome OS and Android that's coming up, and Android 16, we have all these new physical keyboard hooks to play with, and it's just getting more and more and better all the time. Super exciting. That's fun. It is not as fun to be confined to very short timelines and to have to rush things, not rush product production, nothing like that, but to try to get partnerships together. Motorola has been really cool about working with us to make the Razr thing happen. Unfortunately, we moved a little too fast. As a result, we have a little software issue on this, where this is the only phone I've ever tried to use with Clicks where you actually have to run the Clicks app and keep the Clicks app running to make the keyboard work because of something some changes Motorola made to their interpretation of Android. Again, great to work with, but we've solved the problem internally pretty quickly, but it's bundled into the next update that will hit the Razr. And one of the great things about the Razr is don't get updates very often. So it's waiting to be pushed out there. But that's just one of those little things. It's one of those little things that happens when you're a startup and you got a lot of irons in the fire. Thank you for asking. We're very happy at how passionate people are for the Razr, because we built it and I was the one advocate for it internally. And I was like, guys, we got to do the Razr. And everyone's like, it's probably not going to sell a lot. It has sold very well. And it's also sold a few Razrs. So that's nice.
Nice.
How is it? I've always wondered this about people that make cases or accessories. Almost every year, there's some sort of change in a form factor. Like, people will say the iPhone looks the same every year, but like, you look at the camera module, even that'll change subtly every year, right? So if you're not out on day one, let's say you're out on month 2, now your product is only good for 10 months. I mean, it doesn't mean the person's going to upgrade every year, but how does that kind of play into things? And do you hear from customers looking for, I don't know, an upgrade path or anything like that?
Totally. Absolutely. That's our biggest challenge, is that these are all custom fit for whatever iPhone they're made for. And if Apple moves the USB port by a half a micron, well, you need to do a whole new molding session. You need to do a whole, and that is not, I was surprised at how expensive that was. I mean, we're talking mid 5 figures here just to do a mold. So that's super challenging. And I will say that it's no secret that that's been our biggest thing that we've wanted to escape. How do we make something universal so that people don't need to buy this year after year? Oh, that would be great for us if people bought them year after year. But yes, people ask, like, how do we save money on this? Well, if you could build a Clicks that fits everything, then you solve that problem. So that is something we're working toward, and hopefully we'll have something to show you this coming fall. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Let's move on to another topic here that I know John wanted to talk about as well. Kind of more of a behind the scenes thing, but hey, this has gone public and people are talking about it. What is your opinion? What do we think about Apple suing John Prosser? Apple suing John Prosser. Now, I want to set the stage here because I've seen a lot of comments that are kind of getting this wrong. People saying Apple is suing a journalist for being a journalist. And if you read the complaints, which is pretty incredible, Apple is actually suing John for stealing trade secrets, for paying someone to, this is all allegedly, of course, paying someone to track and monitor an Apple employee when they were away from their corporate issued development phone, and then having someone intercept that phone, do a FaceTime call or multiple FaceTime calls with John Prosser, who screen recorded the FaceTime call of the phone that was running iOS 26 and other features. And the phone also had other trade secrets on it that Apple isn't sure if John was able to see or not. That's the reason for the lawsuit. They're alleging that, not just, hey, this guy learned about iOS 26 and made a video about liquid glass before we announced liquid glass.
Yeah.
So,
damn.
Yeah. That's what's being alleged. And what's interesting is it sounds like Apple has recordings. Like when you read through, they seem pretty confident in, like, they're stating factually what they believe to be a factual accounting of not just what happened, but here's what was said, and here's what happened after this, here's what happened next in the conversation. And it makes me wonder, if Apple issues you a device as a worker, and here's a device you're going to work on the next version of iOS and, you know, other things, should you be expecting privacy on a device that's not yours? Or might Apple say, hey, if you're doing a FaceTime with screen recording on this device, we are going to also record at the same time to make sure, you know, because I'm assuming that's the only way they would have a recording, is to automatically somehow trigger recording on their end. But I'm doing a lot of speculation here. I want to hear from you guys.
I mean,
John, go ahead.
I can jump in as somebody who's been sued by Motorola in the past, many years ago.
Remind me, what?
Yeah, so this goes back before, when Motorola was like regular Motorola, before they were acquired by Lenovo and Google. When they were way OG Motorola, when I was running Techno Buffalo.
I remember this.
Yeah, I was running Techno Buffalo. There's a printing house that was running collateral materials that was going to go in the box for, I think it was the Droid X, if I remember correctly. There was some, I don't think I've ever told this part of it, but it probably doesn't matter now. Some parent brought their kid with them to work. The kid saw these things coming off the printing line and was like, well, that's new. Took a bunch of pictures, sent them to us. We vetted the authenticity of them, published it. The printing house sued us, backed by Motorola, wanting us to reveal who the source was. And this is different than John. And we fought it for 2 years, almost bankrupted me. We did not have to reveal the source. But that was terrifying. In the most visceral way of terrifying. Because you're going up against a company with obviously much more resources than a human has. I can't speak to what John did or didn't do, because that's the courts will hopefully be able to discern that. What was alleged is significant, but again, it's you're innocent until proven guilty. But even just the thought of going up against an Apple legal behemoth is terrifying, and I'm sure Apple knows that. Apple's also sued. Wasn't Sonny Dixon? Apple was. They sued a few other concept guys over the years, and the settlement was no money exchanging hands. You can't really talk about Apple publicly for a period of...
They should just stop talking about this company.
For a period of years. Yeah. I would assume that's something similar, but this is a terrifying thing. And also it's a precedent as well in the case, which is interesting. Alleging that John paid to steal secrets. It changes the landscape of leaking, which is already a bit of a dangerous slope to start on.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm like, I have never really been a fan of leaks in general, even as a consumer. Like, and I think it is a much more fraught area to play in as a publisher or a reporter or a leaker. And I think you end up playing with getting a little too close to the sun on some of these things. And then you get like, we've seen Apple do this with the iPhone 4, very different situation, but similar questions being proposed then about what are the limits of what is reporting versus what is breaking the law. And I think this will spark a lot of new conversations, but the only thing I can contribute is not worth much. It is simply that I am glad that I do not play in that kind of publishing, because there's very little danger in what we do or in what I do compared to that.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's much conversation to be, again, just going off of this and everything's all alleged. Like, John, you said you were sent something that you ran with, which sounds like journalism to me, versus paying someone. I mean, here's the thing. You're paying somebody to track their friend, and then when their friend is out of their apartment, access their work phone.
Allegedly.
Everything's alleged. To be clear, access their work phone, screen record their work phone, or allow someone else to screen record their work phone in exchange for money. Do this several times. That doesn't match up with what John did with Motorola. Like this is like if true, it seems to me like two completely unrelated things. And also it's funny to call someone that's how you treat your friend. Like I'm tracking them with an AirTag. They're out of the house. It looks like, okay, they're about 2 miles away, so they'll be back in about 20 minutes. So, okay, we have about 20 more minutes. Oh, they're getting close. Let me end the call. Like, that's wild if true. And to do it, I mean, the end result, right? The reason, if true, the reason was to make a YouTube video, was to throw an ad on a YouTube video and make some money.
Yeah, if true, but I mean, look, I think it's an easier conversation to have once the facts are actually out. I think that there's so much speculation, or there's so much unconfirmed detail here that I'm like, we'll see. It's like trying to figure out like an airplane crash before the NTSB can weigh in. I'm like, you know what? Stop. It's not useful speculation, you know.
Correct. And to be fair, John Prosser did put out a response saying he certainly did not plot to access anyone's phone, and he was unaware of how the information was obtained. He was saying he got the information, but he didn't know how it was obtained, where it was obtained from, etc. Staying on YouTube for a minute, John, you have done an interesting project here.
I did something.
You have done something interesting. I want you to
crazy.
explain what you did here.
What's this?
All right. So behind
different channel.
Behind the scenes, I own a few. I own a few YouTube channels that I'm not the face of. But I help behind the scenes and I own the channel. We had a channel called Interstellar News that focused on space content. It was hosted by the very talented JD Prevost, who just always loved space. And it grew because of shorts incredibly fast. Up to, I believe, 570,000 subscribers.
Nice.
Which is amazing. The problem with it, and this was probably miscalculation on my part, was I couldn't monetize it. The CPMs that were coming in were so small compared to tech. There's no real sponsor angle for this. There's not a telescope conglomerate looking for perhaps
Space/sponsorship.
And the host, JD, was so research intensive. He also is one of our lead editors and directors for my channel. We couldn't post on it anymore. It became so time consuming. And one of the things that I've been doing on my channel that I love doing recently is talking about home theater. It's something that I've just gotten interested in and started making a bunch of content on it. And that area has blown up. So I did something, it will be judged probably in a few years, be able to judge whether this was insane or not.
Sounds wild.
I went to Interstellar News with JD's blessing, of course. And we got rid of all the content on it. All the videos gone. We pivoted that channel.
Deleted or just private them? Like, what did you do?
I will tell you in a second.
You deleted?
Hold on. We pivoted the channel to now being called The Viewing Angle, where it's same host talking about JD's love of home theater, which he does. He helps with all the home theater stuff, but it's much easier for us to produce content on it. He loves it even more. The content is fresher. We can put out more content on it. And it was a tough decision, right? People that subscribed to the channel subscribed to space, right? They didn't subscribe for home theater. And it kind of brought up the question: Do you owe something to an audience who subscribed, which I think in a lot of ways you do, or do you sort of owe a channel that you own to do what's genuine to you? Like space wasn't something that he was interested in doing anymore. The channel was dying. We hadn't done anything with it. And so it was a tough decision, I think, about YouTube and how you approach subscribers. What was interesting was the videos we had on Interstellar News, about 90% were coming from people who were not subscribed. And so a lot of
search traffic.
A lot of these, a lot of it was all search and browse. So we have 3 videos up on the channel. I expected a big subscriber shed as we sort of the algorithm learned something new and changed. I've never done anything like this. It was scary, and I understand why people would be upset and unsubscribe. But we're giving it
a tough pivot.
A shot.
Tough thing to do. I mean,
are these
dramatic?
Yeah. Is it is it still a shorts channel or is it like
no long form?
Like
long form. It's called the viewing angle.
Really? So you went from a primarily shorts channel to now long form.
We had tried to do long form on the channel. It didn't really work, and it was feast or famine. Videos would either get like 3 million views or 300 views. There was nothing in between. And we loved the channel. It was just becoming a cost center. I couldn't afford to keep it. And so it was a hard business decision. And we saw some people who understood in the comments, some who were upset. And we're going to see how the audience reacts over time. And it was, admittedly, a very risky decision, but it was the only way to keep some life in the channel. And I think a year from now we'll have a sense of whether or not it was a successful pivot, or whether it was a complete disaster.
Good luck.
What's the mindset between doing that versus let's just start a new channel and go?
I was going to ask that too.
Yep. And that was most definitely the discussion. And we had a huge, we were talking about even buying a channel and pivoting over to that, which is really where this came from. But Interstellar News had been sitting there for, I want to say 6 to 8 months with nothing new on it.
Really? Okay.
And if we had been a different host, I never would have done it. But the fact that it's the same host who's saying like my interest changed. We put a letter on there in the description that's like, here's what happened, so it's a big subscriber number to walk away from. And ultimately that's really where that decision came from. I don't know what the starting from scratch would have been, but if it had not been the same host, I couldn't imagine a world where we would have pivoted like that.
Yeah.
I've seen several people
hopefully it comes across
change.
Sorry. Yeah.
I've seen people change their content, like kind of like you said, like, I started my channel doing this and now I'm interested in this other thing. I'm just going to shift over. And with the same host, I think it makes way more sense. So I don't think it's too out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I think that's right. But you've got to be able to grow, though. You've got to be able to change. Like a hard pivot like this is tough, but you do have to be able to change over time. If you're going to get locked into the same thing over and over again, that's as much of a death sentence as taking an aggressive move like this, isn't it?
Yeah. And Michael, we've been doing this for a long time. I think we have the sense of like we owe so much to the subscribers who helped build this for us. And it was hard to change the approach. Like, we'll owe it to new subscribers, or are we abandoning the ones who were there? Were they there just for the host? Or they only subscribed because they saw one video? It was such a big decision, that went into it. It was a tough one. It was a really tough one to make. And I'm curious how it's all going to ultimately play out. For those that are wondering, it's been about 10 days since we launched. We have 3 videos that are up. We have had, I'll tell you I'm going to pull the subscriber loss numbers so I can tell you live while we're here. So last 28 days, we have lost. Any guesses before I tell you the number?
You had 570,000 to start?
About 574.
Yeah, 574, he said.
Yeah.
And I want to say 20,000. I want to say a low number.
I want to say you have lost 15,000.
Finally, I expected to lose 100,000 subscribers. And I thought that was fair. People are allowed to leave. I'm telling you, but they were allowed to leave.
No way.
They subscribed to something. I understood what that was. That's what internally I expected.
Sure.
So the past 28 days, and again, we've only been live for about 10 days. We have lost.
I'm changing my number. It has risen by 1,500 subscribers.
We have lost 1,300 subscribers.
1,300. That's
and
all.
the past
Nothing. That's nothing.
And the past week has been 782, and now we're seeing subscriber growth actually from the most recent video. The third video went up. The algorithm is finally not pushing out the TV content, and now we're seeing subscriber growth from that video, which is interesting. I don't know how sustainable any of this is. It's from I would read this case study. I would totally read this case study.
Yeah, this is interesting.
What you're doing here?
I love it.
You saw the poor decision. You saw the poor decision that Digital Trends made, and you said, "Hey, they just left a hole here. I'm going to fill it."
Mm-hmm. Wow,
I like that.
I like that
I
too.
like that. He's just smiling. He's just over here smiling. I know.
We were all, we were already pretty ensconced in the TV world already. But certainly there's some vacuums there in the space. How about that?
Opportunities.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart.
It is smart.
The thing with me, obviously I've been on YouTube for almost 2 decades, right? But if I see something in my subscription feed, I'm never like, what the hell is this doing here? I didn't subscribe. I'm like, oh, I must have subscribed to that 2 years ago and I just forgot. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not quick to unsubscribe. If I see something there, I'm assuming I subscribed for a reason. And it's just, I just forgot about it. I'm not upset that content has changed.
Yeah. Plus there's that inertia that people have of there's a lot of laziness in at least the way I use YouTube and other platforms. You need to hit me with irrelevant content several times before I even notice. And I'm like, wait, what is this? So I do feel like there's going to be this kind of transition slope, John, where you probably have a lot of churn over the course of the next year or so, but it's incredibly promising that you're already seeing growth at this stage. Congrats.
That's great. That's great. I like that.
That was kind of how we took it. It's an interesting case study for those that are on YouTube for how people consume content, right? The subscriber feed is not the traffic driver that it once was.
Definitely.
Right? It's home, it's browse, it's search. So I don't know. We had the discussion internally too. Do we just not say anything? Do we just suddenly just start remove the videos and put out TV content and don't even acknowledge it? Right?
Just gaslight people. No, this was never anything. This is what we've been doing.
Yeah. Take the hit. That's what we were advised to do. It didn't feel right to do that. I think at least it felt right that people say, acknowledge, here's what we did. If you're not on board, we understand. There's no hard feelings. This is not what you were here for. Move on. But the hope is that maybe there's an overlap, with those subscribers who did stay, and anybody who wants to stay is nice. And quite frankly, and the honest answer is now we have a new channel that has 500,000 subscribers. Maybe, I don't know if that's a disingenuous thing to do. It was a tough decision, to in all candor for kind of how we came about it. And I didn't want to hide it. That felt worse. Then talking, and people have changed and pivoted channels before, and that was kind of what JD wanted to do. And we tried to give him the outlet to do that.
And honestly, I think at the end of the day, things in this space specifically live or die based on whether the host or the channel owner or both, whether they're doing what they want to do. If you've got someone there who's reporting passionately or creating passionately, and it kind of doesn't matter, it'll recover. It's only when someone is just doing it rote out of habit or out of dead-hearted, then that's when you're in trouble. Unless you have so much scale that it just doesn't matter anymore. But we're not talking about that.
No, that was kind of the thought too. And I didn't want to create fodder for an expose on what happened to Interstellar News. It's more just it was just a pivot out of interest.
Just so crucial.
Michael Fisher, thank you for joining us this week. As always,
Andrew,
love
John,
having you
thank
here.
you both. I really appreciate that. Thank you for hanging out for having me on for a Foldable episode, because I don't like to talk about anything else except folder hinges.
I can't wait to have you on when Apple announces theirs.
Yeah, I can't wait either.
Get that. It's you're the one we need to have on the show.
It's going to be the year 2047. I'm going to be Andy Rooney
Next
looking.
year, come on. Gurman told us. It's 11 months from now. Come on.
Yeah, we'll see.
11 months. And that is it for this edition of Geared Up. Thank you so much for listening. Of course, you can catch John and I on YouTube. I'm at youtube.com/gearlive, and John is at youtube.com/John4Lakers. Feel free to head over and subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on all the latest tech. Speaking of subscribing, you can subscribe to Geared Up in your favorite podcast app if you haven't done so already. Just search Geared Up, that's 2 words, not one, in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Overcast, or really wherever you choose to listen. If you like what we do, please consider leaving us a rating and review. It really helps other people find the show. Geared Up is a Gear Live podcast, and you can see more from us at gearlive.com. Thank you so much for listening. For John Rettinger, I'm Andrew Edwards, and we'll catch you in the next episode.